Oh yeah, boys.
What's up, everybody?
What up, fellas?
It's the We Talking About Sports podcast. We're back with a We Talking recap. And I just gotta ask, is it safe to come outside yet? Are we still in survival mode? Are we good to go for week 3? Are we still licking our wounds from week 1 and 2? Maybe some bad betting weeks or 0-2 fantasy record? Or are we living on easy street right now, guys?
The only person happy about week 2 is the book, bro. At least my bookie, because I lost a lot with the way that week 2 went down. Crazy scores, crazy endings, crazy comebacks, which we're gonna get into. But yeah, Roland, answer your question. I'm barely making my way out, and it's Wednesday.
Yeah, way better week over here in the Diaz household. Fantasy kept rolling along for the most part. The Bills chugged along for the most part, and the dogs were barking. But good thing that we weren't on those faves. The dogs are barking.
Yeah, dogs are barking. We were talking about it on the podcast. I think it was on Sunday about how many home underdogs there were, or home or road favorites rather. There were some large favorites too. There was like 3 double-digit favorites. I think only one of them ended up covering. Supposed to be 2, but it looked like the Rams decided to give up on the game there in the fourth. But speaking of that Bills game, we'll talk about it a little bit here once we get to the slate. But I was telling some friends at work today, I never have Monday Night Miracles. I'm always the guy who loses in dramatic fashion on Monday night. Like the worst case, like I lost on that Kirk Cousins Hail Mary a few years ago. I was playing against the Chiefs defense that week, and my friend Tom, he was down by like 1 point that last play, ends up getting that to cash it and beat me. So those Monday nights happen to me. But this past Monday night, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs single-handedly won me my matchup. So I'm definitely in a good mood here this Wednesday as we're going into week 3 of both NFL. And
Bro,
I remember back to our salsa days of basketball. We used to play on Mondays, and we used to get there and talk about what Monday Night Miracle we needed. And at halftime of our game, we'd go check the TV in the lobby, bro. But yeah, it was nice to have Josh Allen and Diggs. Got that stack in 2 leagues, so it was a Monday Night Miracle for damn sure. Shout out Mondo in the chat.
Yeah, shout out Mondo. Shout out everybody here that's logged on with us today. As always, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Apple, and Spotify, anywhere where you guys get your podcast. But when we go live, it's on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So thanks to everybody for being here. Without further ado, let's get into the recap for week 2. Let's spend some time looking back at some of these games that happened. A lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but there were a few blowouts sprinkled in there with, as always, the NFL most competitive league in all of sports, a bunch of close games. Anything here on the screen that pops off to you guys other than obviously the Bills drubbing the Titans 41-7, and they were one of the double-digit spreads that covered, I believe. So
yeah, one of the games for me, I mean, the AFC South. I don't know who's going to end up winning the AFC South. The Jags in that Colts game. I mean, for the Jaguars to blank the Indianapolis Colts, who had to scramble back and tie against the Texans in week 1. Now they play another division game and they lose to the Jaguars. Not only lose, but get blanked. Yes, no Michael Pittman. I know that hurt a lot of people in fantasy football this week. But the Colts looked bad, man. The Colts looked really bad. It was an impressive win by the Jaguars. Everything was working. Trevor Lawrence looked really poised, and the defense looked good as well. So that was a game that really caught me by surprise.
Man, I'm going to have to go with the Cardinals and Raiders game. Once again, it happened again to the Raiders. They're leading the game going into halftime, and they collapse in the second half. The Cardinals coming out, going into overtime, scoring the only points, winning 29-23 on a crazy play by Kyler Murray, man. He was out there looking like the dude that everybody said that he was going to be. He was looking like the dude that said, I want my money, and they got his money, and this is the reason why you paid me. I don't need Nuke. Give me these, decent running backs and these okay receivers. Yeah, and I'll make it happen. And Dortch was somebody who came up up on our Sunday show as a
I
start
started him.
or
I
sit.
started him.
Yeah, man. So he did well. And that was just another thing that caught me off guard because I said, okay, the Cardinals are who we thought that they were. We talked about taking their unders in our future show. We took them not to make the playoffs, I believe. So I was
That
like,
would have been
awesome.
a really
you
big
know?
loss for them. And we
Yeah.
had it. I mean,
Yeah.
Ron,
it was
did you
there.
see at halftime the Raiders fans were popping champagne bottles? They were
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they were up like 21-0 or 24-0 at halftime, and they were popping champagne bottles in the crowd and shit.
Shit, all of those guys probably won their first half bets. Popping the champagne for sure.
True.
Very, and then a game where Devontae Adams only has 2 catches. What the hell was going on, bro?
One of those was for a touchdown in typical Devontae Adams, or not typical because he didn't have all the catches to follow it, but he always finds a way to get in the end zone. Yeah, so that was good for him. The one game here that kind of pops up to me, and really I have 2, but if I were just to dwindle it down to 1, it would be the Eagles versus the Vikings. That second game on Monday night. The Vikings were a team that I was very high on coming into the season. I'm not saying I'm off of their train or anything, but I'm looking to the other side and how impressed I am in the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts has taken another step forward in his maturation as a quarterback. Not saying he's a top 5 guy by any means, but definitely looks like he's a better quarterback than he was last year. And then all of the talent that they've accumulated around him. I mean, they have a really, really sound roster. When you look at, they have a really good offensive line, so they're constantly controlling the trenches. Their secondary is probably one of the best in the NFL. You got Darius Slay back there and Gardner Johnson, the guy they traded for from New Orleans to strengthen the secondary. This is probably outside of maybe the 49ers and another team that I've seen play so far, one of my favorites to maybe walk away with the NFC Championship. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is going to take them all the way to the Super Bowl, but, I mean, based on the way they're playing right now, I mean, there's a lot worse things you can do with your money.
They're very well balanced, man. And Slay should have had like 4 interceptions. He had Jefferson clamped up, bro. Very impressive. That was a Vikings team that looked really good week 1, beating the hell out of Green Bay. And the Eagles didn't struggle at all. Very impressive game.
Yeah.
Who did he go give the ball to?
James Harden. Yeah, I don't know if Ron froze, but yeah, he gave it to James Harden.
Yeah, I saw that. But big game, big spot for the Eagles. And, it's a time. I mean, it's a tale as old as time. Excuse me, I'm really bad with my sayings. Kirk Cousins on primetime. Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football. 2-8 going into the game. I think on Monday night. 2-9.
Both wins against the Bears.
Both wins against the Bears. Don't know if you can even count those. If there's one thing that is death, taxes, and you fade Kirk Cousins on primetime.
Yeah. That's got to be a given at this point. I agree with you there.
Yeah, and shit, and they're going to be playing primetime games in the playoffs, man. I'm getting a little scared here with my Vikings, especially because I thought after week 1 they were going to take out the Packers. Because, I mean, they throttled the Packers. I mean, so we saw them play head-to-head. So, obviously my instant reaction was, the Vikings are going to, they're going to take this division. This is the year that, Kirk Cousins unseats Aaron Rodgers atop the throne. But now the Packers look like they got a little bit better, got a little healthier. The Vikings look like they got some issues to work out still. And still yet we have 15 more weeks of football, so nothing has been decided yet.
Yeah, I just want to know why Mondo put this when we were talking about the Kirk Cousins.
Because he had Kirk Cousins in fantasy, I believe, and Kirk Cousins' 3 interceptions had caused him to start losing the game, bro. So, yeah. One of those where, starting a guy might end up losing you the game.
That's
Kirk
crazy,
Cousins almost pulled it off.
Yeah.
Shame. Well, like I said in the beginning, when we were talking about the scoreboard, NFL by far the most competitive league in all of, like, I guess, domestic sports, if you will. And the scores, they speak for itself. A lot of one-score games. That's why I think what's the guy's name? Hansen from the Red Zone. He calls it the witching hour. Scott Hansen.
Hey,
the witching hour.
The kings of the witching hour, the New York Giants, or the Cowboys fans, are y'all gonna show a little bit of respect to the Giants?
Well, that was my second game that I was going to point out is the Giants being 2-0. I don't remember the last time I've ever seen that happen. But the question that I want to ask you two, though, and before we move on to, probably the best game of the week, I'm gonna preface it before we move on. The Giants, they're 2-0. Does it weigh much to you, or you're just like whatever? They lucked into 2 wins. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Titans, who were down on.
Yeah, I'm up because those are games that the Giants would lose. I mean, they got a new coach. The coach went for 2 against the Titans, ended up getting it, and they won. If not, they probably lose that game in OT. Let's be real. And then now you go up against Matt Rule, probably the coach on the hottest seat in the NFL, and Baker Mayfield, and you end up taking care of them. Not the best wins as far as power rankings go, but you got to squeak them out, and they hadn't been doing that in years past.
Are they like to make the playoffs to you, Ron?
Shit. I mean, right now in the division, I mean,
Saquon looks to be back. Saquon looks to be back.
I'm gonna give the Giants their flowers. They're a team that their front office stuck with Danny Dimes. Yes, he is a young quarterback, but they said, you know what, we're gonna stick with him. They really didn't go out and get him any crazy weapons either. Whenever Saquon went down, they had to deal with that as well. So they're a team that has endured. They've gone through their rough time. They've gone through their rough patches, and they're putting it together. And you have to give an NFL team credit. As long as you go out and win on Sundays, that's why they say any given Sunday. They're 2-0 in the division. Saquon looks to be a little bit back. Danny Dimes is playing a little decent. Their defense is really, really good. I mean, they're playing subpar teams, but they're holding them to, they're not putting up 30 and 40 on them. So right. on that Giants defense. So shout out to the Giants. It's going to be a hell of a game on Sunday. I think it's going to be a slow defensive battle, and hopefully the Cowboys come out on top, but it should be a good Monday night game.
Yeah. We try and be as not like unbiased as possible here, but at the end of the day, to me, the Giants, they're going to be 6-11. Like, they got 2 wins out of the way that they probably would have lost last year, but the one thing remains the same. I will give Dabble props. I like Dabble. I think he's going to be a great coach. I think, and that's going to be one of my points is how important a coach is and building the culture around the team is, because you look at other teams throughout the league and you just know they have a bad culture and they're not going to do good. Like the whole Urban Meyer situation with Jacksonville, complete cesspool. And then you switch out Peterson and they're a competitive football team once again. So the leadership does matter a lot, but the Giants still have Daniel Jones, and he still sucks. So they're still going to be 6-11.
Better.
That guy.
I capped for him a couple of seasons ago. I'm not going to die on that hill this year.
He's going to be a backup. He's going to be a backup after this year. The Giants are not going to extend him. I mean, his coach that drafted him is not there. Dabble's going to go and get his own guy because he had Josh Allen, and then he goes to Danny Dimes, and he's like, I don't want to work with this. So, yeah. Soft 2-0 to me. Soft 2-0.
Diego with a good question here before we move on. Who's on the betting blacklist 2 weeks in, boys? It's the Colts for him.
For me, I get why the Colts would be a blacklist, but for me, it's the Bengals. Until the Bengals,
that's a good one.
Until the Bengals can block somebody, I'm not going to bet on them. I'm not.
Not even tees can those boys cover.
Nope.
Yeah, for me, it's a team that I had a lot of high hopes for, the Las Vegas Raiders, man.
Yeah,
I think
they were 6-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stay away from the Raiders. I can't trust Carr anytime that he does get some. I can't trust Carr 2 weeks into the fucking season. What was I thinking, dog? God damn it,
bro! You put all your faith in Derek Carr preseason.
You made him a top 10 quarterback. You said he was your guy.
Hey,
he was on your top 10 list.
We're only 2 weeks in. Okay, we're only 2 weeks in, but horrible showing, horrible outing. They could be 2-0. They're 0-2, but I think that's a team that just has to figure it out. McDaniel's a rookie head coach. Let's let them figure it out and see where they're at after the bye week.
I got a good one. The Broncos.
Ooh.
I mean, they did win last week, but the spread was 10, and they were losing 9-6 going into the fourth quarter. They put up 10 in the fourth quarter to not even do a a backdoor cover. They only won by 7. They were supposed to win by 10. We all know what happened week 1 when they were huge favorites against Seattle, go in and turn the ball over twice on the goal line to lose the game. So, I mean, the Broncos could be another team that you're staying away from until they prove that they can cover spreads and even win games. They had some injuries too. Also, Russell Wilson doesn't look like he's cooking. Maybe
Russell Wilson
that
is
chemistry
not good,
isn't there
He's
yet. Yeah. So I don't know. Another team to stay away from there, boys, as far as betting.
The Broncos, for me, they just feel like they're just off. Like they can move the ball. Like I say, they move it from 20 to 20 very easily. They gain a lot of yardage, but it's just once they get into the red zone, they don't know what to do. It's like they just get confused and want to throw fades all day.
The coach too, man.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to put it on the coach. It's his first year with the team, and he choked prime time Sunday night, week 1.
Yeah. So yeah, good team there. Broncos, Bengals, Colts, and Ben's team was the Raiders. So a bunch of teams. Beware when you're betting on these teams that they have not shown that they're all the way there yet. But I talked about it a couple minutes ago. The best game of the week, in my opinion. And this, I know, hurt a lot of people because I think this was a favorite parlay piece maybe for some people.
God.
The Baltimore Ravens. Talk about a meltdown. The title says it all here. Bummer in Baltimore. They were home favorites against the Miami Dolphins. They were up, I think it was 35-14 at one point. End up losing the game 42-38. Tua went absolutely nuclear.
Stupid.
Threw for over 400 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Waddle
and Tyreek Hill both had games for you. Gesicki hit the gritty or tried to hit the gritty. this game had everything.
It looked like he was like skipping. He was just skipping off the field or something.
So I was on the Dolphins teased. I teased them up from 3.5 to 10.5, and I had them in a 10-point teaser plus 13.5. And right off the bat, kickoff return for touchdown. I'm like, oh, okay, like this happened before. Not ideal, but whatever. And then 14-0, and then like 21-3, and then I'm just like, okay, well, I don't need to see this game on Red Zone anymore. Like I thought my weekend was over because, like I said, I had him in 2 plays, and then lo and behold, Tua. He heard all the chatter, he heard all the people saying he couldn't throw the long ball. Granted, Tyreek Hill was open on 2 of those, like wide open, like blown coverage bad. But are you guys walking away impressed with the Miami Dolphins after this game, or are you thinking bummer in Baltimore? They blew it. Nothing really here to see about the Dolphins.
Nah, man. I mean, I'm giving the Dolphins their due. I mean, they put up 42 points on a defense that we thought was one of the best coming into the season, and you can't, put it all on Tyreek and Waddle, even though they went off, because that offensive line still has to give Tua time to make those passes. The receivers still got to make the DBs miss. So props to them. They hung out. They hung in there. They were down 21, like at one point, like Roland said, 35-14, and they were in Baltimore also, right? Or they were in I mean, away game, hostile environment. And they didn't just win this game; they won last week as well. So just like the Giants, starting off the season 2-0, the Stars are playing like stars. Tua is finally getting some flowers from everybody. And there was a picture that I'll probably use on Sunday's show that Josh sent us. Shout out to Josh; he's one of our top boys. It's Tua, Mac Jones, and Jalen Hurts in their Bama uniforms. And hey, roll Tide, because the quarterbacks from Alabama are running the show this year so far.
Yep, hell yeah. And Ben, I want you to give your take kind of off of what Noe's asking here, since you're our resident Bills guy. Miami flying high, Bills flying high. They're matched up week 3. Bills 6-point favorites. Does Miami have another shocker in them? And they're playing at home.
Yeah, they're playing at home. The line opened up 4.5. It's now up to 6. Obviously, after the Bills Monday night win, I was hoping the Bills would kind of win close, maybe just by 10. But look, listen, Miami, all credit to them. That was a great comeback win. Most teams, when they're down 21 points in the second half, they pack it up. Let's run out the clock. Let's get to the bus and let's prepare for next week. No, they came back. They won. How you let Tyreek Hill get behind you, on back-to-back drives is beyond me. The Baltimore Ravens usually have a respectable defense, respectable secondary, but that was pathetic, bro. That was pathetic. Hats off to them, but this is smoke and mirrors, man. This smoke and mirrors.
No flowers.
The Ravens had that game. The problem with the Ravens was how fast they were scoring. It was just quick scoring plays. It was a return kickoff. It was a Lamar Jackson 70-yard run. A long pass to Bateman for a touchdown, 60 yards. No time was coming off the clock, therefore giving Miami that time to come back. All in all, big choke job, but these boys are about to come back down to reality. Big division game against the Bills, like Noe mentioned. The Bills are about a touchdown favorite on the road in Miami. Listen, if the Bills are up 21 points, that shit ain't happening. So the fact that they were down 21, yes, the game was in Baltimore. They should be feeling themselves, but it also is a pretty big letdown spot if you think about the way that they won and the emotion that they're coming off of.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
No, they did beat the Patriots 20-7 also. I mean,
but the Patriots is a team that we didn't have very high hopes for this season.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I bet on the Patriots. I'm glad they won, but we did have their under for the season total. For me, I will say I'm impressed with the Miami Dolphins. I do think Mike McDaniel is going to be successful as a head coach. I think he has a good scheme. I think the speed that they've accumulated in Miami is something that you have to take seriously. I mean, you got Waddle and Tyreek Hill lining up opposite of each other. I don't know if there's a faster combination in the NFL, but I also agree with what Ben said, what Ron said. Miami had them dead to rights. Any other game, Miami usually they probably hang stuff up and they start preparing for next week and start looking at the matchup against the Bills. But, we were in for a treat on Sunday. We got the comeback. I do think Miami is going to be a player for a wild card spot. So I do think they're right around where they were last year, but I'm going to give them a bump up because I like Mike McDaniel. I like how aggressive he is. I like the fact that they added Tyreek Hill, and I think Tua's improved a little bit more. So I'm going to give them that bump right now to where I think they will make the playoffs at this point based on what I'm seeing. Now, as far as the Bills, I know he's questioned. I think the Bills are, other than a few teams, they're about a touchdown better than everybody. And I think they're going to beat the brakes off of Miami. Although you always have to worry about going to Miami, that South Beach kind of hangover. No matter how you look at it, it always happens. It just always feels like there's something in the air, like the Florida humidity gets to people. The game just goes a little slower for opposing teams. But I don't think the Bills should have any trouble.
And one of the crazy stats that was coming around after the Monday Night Football game or before, the Bills' last 22 wins,
all by double digits. So I mean, when they're beating teams, they're smacking them. After the Monday night game, Von Miller went to the podium and he said, "We already know what's expected, and now we're going on the field to dominate. We're not going out there just to win. We're going out there, to punch them in the mouth." So I like what I'm hearing. That means that they're going to be covering big spreads. You got to think they're a team that scores 30 every week. So the way the offenses look. So very good points. And just circling back to Miami, I do want to ask you guys a question. Are you guys comfortable for sure putting them in that second slot in the AFC East?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like what the coach has done. I never thought I'd see this from Tua. If Tua and Hurts both prove me wrong the same year, I'm going to be eating a whole lot of crow at the end of the season, bro.
I think betting wise, just from a little betting angle here real quick, if you're going to take the Dolphins, if you're a believer, take them first half, because we did see the Bills come out a little slow first quarter versus the Titans. They let the Titans score, which was the Titans' only score, but it was 7-7, I believe, at the end of the first quarter. Toward halftime, they started pulling away, and then we all know what happened in the second half. So if you are going to take the Dolphins, I would mess with them first half, but lay off for the game.
Very good point. Very good tidbit there. All right, so it looks like Ben has a little bet with Noe going on here. Noe's calling the Bills' downfall, and he thinks, if I'm understanding that correctly, it's going to be the running game is the difference, which we didn't even talk about. Mostert, Edmonds, I have both those guys on respective teams.
Yeah. I said it before the year that the Bills are going to be great. They'll probably hit their win total, but in the postseason is where it counts, man. Yeah. And I think that they're going to pull that Jim Kelly.
All right, well, let's move on from, I guess, some highs, and let's get to some lows, because that's what the NFL is all about. It's about the highs and the lows. Not everybody is living on easy street right now. Not everybody's reading their press clippings with smiles on their face. Some people aren't even reading press clippings because they've deleted their Twitter or they've deleted their Instagram, like Mr. Burrow here. This is a clip from week 1, or I think this was our first recap show last week. We were talking, is there trouble in the jungle? The Bengals, they were on the wrong side of that thriller with the
Steelers.
The Steelers, 4 picks for Burrow, goes all the way down to the end. And we all said they were Gucci. Shout out to Justin. We all said they were Gucci. We all said they were good to go. But lo and behold, we found ourselves a week 2, Bengals 7-point favorites, parlay pieces broken, teasers busted.
Everything.
They lose to the Cowboys. I think, Ron, you said it best.
Yeah.
You said
I said even when the Cowboys win, they still fuck me. Because I had the Bengals teased to -1. I mean, after getting rolled on week 1 at home by the Bucks, and then Tampa, and then the Bengals losing that overtime thriller, I said, hey, Joey B's gonna come into J World and he's gonna take care of business. And he came back and tied it. And he had an opportunity at the very end of the game to put on a game-winning drive and either score a touchdown or a field goal to go ahead really late. But the Bengals didn't come through. They couldn't protect him. They went 3 and out. Cowboys get the ball, and Cooper rushes down the field for a game-winning field goal from Maher. Trouble in the jungle part 2, just like it says there. I'm still not going to panic, though, because I'm still in the pocket like Burrow, and they're going to win this week for sure. And because I took their damn future to make the playoffs, so they better start winning some damn games.
Hey, Joe Burrow doing the Irvin Taylor after the Aggies lost to App State. Irv deleted his Instagram also, bro. So Joe Burrow might be taking notes from Irvin in the comment section. I know after the Aggies lost to App State, he went missing for a while. But no, I'm buying this trouble now. I'm not saying like Ron, they're gonna win this week for sure. If we were doing Gucci or panic, I would go the other way now. Roland, you've been mentioning their O-line a lot. We saw last year it didn't catch up to them because Joe Burrow was pretty heroic most times. But this season early, it's clear, it's evident. Big ass hole. Gaping hole, pause. Like,
what do you think that contributes to Mixon not having a great year either? So it's a small size sample, 2 games, but Mixon was expected to come out, be one of those fantasy backs.
He's a first round running back.
And they're playing from behind a lot more too. Through the first 2 games of the year, at least they're in comeback situations, so the running's not there. I'm worried. I'm panicking right with Ben. I put them on my betting blacklist. Until they can show that they're able to block somebody, I'm not going to bet them. Joe Burrow, obviously still talented, made a lot of mistakes in week 1, looked a lot better towards the end of the game, and then he looked a little bit better in week 2. But it's hard to look good when you're scrambling for your life. You're getting sacked every other play. There's no such thing as a clean pocket in Cincinnati right now. But it just has me so confused, and that's why I'm worried, is because they spent a bunch of money revamping the offensive line. Because like Ben said, it didn't catch up to them last year, but Joe Burrow was on his ass just as much as he was, or maybe a little bit more this year, but he was on his ass a lot last year, and they still found a way to make it to the Super Bowl. But that's not happening this year. I'm panicking. We all know about the Super Bowl hangover.
Yep, good point.
I think it's real. And again, I'm just so confused because they revamped the offensive line. They got La'el Collins. They got Alex Kappa, the new center. But they
lost to Mitch Trubisky and Cooper Rush. Like, Ron, hold your boy accountable, cuz.
I'm not gonna hold him accountable just yet. All right, just yet. They have the Jets. All right, 12 o'clock CBS. If that game goes south, then I might have to get out the pocket.
We're gonna add Flacco to the list of Trubisky.
Bro, do that. Man. But you do have to give the Bengals this. Week 1, they played one against the best defenses in the league and the reigning defensive MVP in Watt. Week 2, they go to Dallas as well, and we all know what Parsons did in that game and the game before. If he was sacking Brady, and the Bucks didn't put up that many points on them,
I agree with you there. They've gone up against some good pass rushes.
Yeah, they played some of the top 2 defenses. All right, now they're gonna go against the Jets. Fuck boy, if they can't beat the Jets, oh Joey B.
They
better
can't
not-
block the
Don't do it
Jets.
to me, Joey B.
They better not go Browns like the Browns did against the Jets this past weekend, partner. 'Cause
Mhm.
So everybody in the comments, if you guys want, let us know if y'all are panicking on the Bengals. It looks like Mark is off on the Bengals. Shout out Mark.
Barbecue
Bengals defense,
chicken.
barbecue chickens. When you got, what's that guy's name? I always forget his name.
Eli Apple.
Eli Apple. There you go.
Oh my God!
Shout out the God.
Jesus
Eli Apple.
Christ.
Hey, he tossed Aaron Donald. That's all I gotta say.
I
but-
mean,
Oh.
if he ain't getting burnt like toast, he's getting a defensive holding, pass interference. I mean, something, bro. That guy can't even cover the tight ends on the squad, man. Jesus.
So, anything else here on the Bengals that you guys want to talk about?
Man, get me off these guys, bro.
Ben, are you calling a comeback here? Or do they go 0-3?
I don't think that they go 0-3, but the Jets have been sparky. They've been live. I think that they get tested again. The Bengals haven't had the lead. They haven't scored first in any game this season. So they got their work cut out for them, bro. This is a game you usually take lightly, but this is all or nothing in week 3 for the Bengals. And it's a good thing it's against the New York Jets.
Not a lot of people come back from 0-3.
Guess who they have week 4?
Probably a good-ass team.
The Dolphins.
Okay.
Yeah,
See, that's going to be a hell of a game, boy.
They gotta get their dub. All right, well, Joe Burrow, you're not watching us, but you got to get your stuff together, man. And hopefully you hop back on social media soon. All right, guys.
All right, Ben took a little bathroom break. He'll be back. Don't worry.
Probably this is probably my favorite segment. I love talking fantasy football. I'm in a bunch of leagues all year, every year. So always love to talk fantasy. You guys hit us up with your questions and your comments over the past week. And one of the questions that we got, and it's probably a pretty popular question being asked throughout fantasy football just because of where this guy's drafted and the expectations for him. But Alan asked us last week, with Dak injured, do I cut my losses and try to trade CD? I think we all said try and trade him, if I'm not mistaken. Ron, after seeing his performance with Cooper Rush in week 2, I'm trying to pull up his stat line right now. But are you riding with your boy, or you're gonna try and trade him? Because it might be hard to trade him, but his stat line wasn't that bad. He went 7 for 75, no touchdowns.
What's that? 14. Yeah, it's not bad.
14 fantasy points in PPR.
That's still 14 points. That's because the other receiver got the tutties
off of 11 targets.
11 targets is good. I mean, now that the Cowboys, it's because you went into week 2 thinking that the Cowboys were going to lose and that he wasn't going to get any points, and then the Cowboys pull off the dub not only, and then he adds those points. So maybe now, if you're going to trade him, you would get more stock for him now because he had a good performance. Coming off that, exactly. Coming off that week 1 loss, you probably weren't going to get as good players. But now that he's played better week 2, you will get more draft capital for him. So if you're going to trade CeeDee Lamb, I would trade him now. Would I hold on to him? If my trade offer sucked, then I would hold on to him. But if I get a decent trade, I would let him slip away.
Oh, genius, Ron. Genius.
I mean, it's like, he's still a wide receiver 1. You probably took him in the first or second round. You're going to have to get somebody decent back.
If somebody offers you James Robinson, the Jaguars running back, for CeeDee Lamb, are you taking it or not?
Based off of ADP, it's hard to take that, but
based off ADP.
If you need a running back, I'd probably take it if somebody's willing to trade James Robinson, because we've seen James Robinson looks like he's all the way back from that injury, and it looks like it's more towards a 60-40, maybe 70-30 between him and Etienne now that he's shown that he's the guy. So I might take that trade if I'm good at receiver, and I can beef up my running backs. I might use CD to get me some James Robinson, because I know I said it's disrespectful based on ADP, but hey, ADP is ADP. That's preseason. The games are happening now.
One more for you: Hollywood Brown or CeeDee Lamb? Are you taking a trade for Hollywood Brown over CD?
Probably not, and that's because I was super high on Marquise Brown coming into the year, but he really has not looked good, and that's because he has Kyler Murray and no D-Hop, whereas CeeDee Lamb is actually, he doesn't have Dak Prescott, and so I'd go CD over Marquise Brown.
Shit, speaking of trades, we got a live trade going on right here. Literally live trade. We got a trade offer. Davis for Miles Sanders. Ben, are you taking it?
I'm not taking it. I've been telling him no all day. I'm not taking it. I love the persistentness, but I'm not taking it.
But hey guys, this is our fantasy mailbag. It's open all week. If you want to sit somebody, start somebody, trade somebody, optimal lineups too. I know EC came out here saying that it was just like a lineup question. You know, he showed us his lineup and he said, he actually said, should I start Russ or Jalen Hurts? And we actually went with Russ, which was a big mistake. So unfortunately,
that's true. He already had Russ plugged in, though.
Out. He already had Russ. He already had Russ plugged in. But so this is the fantasy mailbag. Submit all your questions on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. We'll post them and we'll talk about them on Sunday at 10 a.m.
And it's not posted here, but I do want to ask a little bit about this subject since it is Wednesday and a lot of the waivers have cleared and whatnot for the people you guys are trying to go for your lineups. But with the injury to Trey Lance. Right, Trey Lance. Unfortunately, his ankle exploded. I saw the play as it happened. He got up. I don't even think he realized what had happened. He got up and then he looked down at his foot and he's like, "Oh shit, my foot's not the way it's supposed to be." And he laid back down.
Was it like Dax?
Yes, it was like Dax.
Damn, I didn't get to see it.
My question is, are you guys intrigued at maybe picking up a Jimmy G if you had Trey Lance on your team to maybe come in at fantasy?
I did have Trey Lance on my team.
Were you looking at Jimmy G as a possible waiver wire?
Jimmy G was a waiver wire option. I wasn't looking at him. I didn't end up going with him. Matthew Stafford was available.
Oh, so you got Stafford.
So I ended up going with Matthew Stafford. Yeah, I know people haven't been very happy with his performance, early on in the season. But yeah, Jimmy G, I'm still not in.
Another name out there, and Ron, I want you to take this one. Is are you guys willing to stream Jared Goff?
Shit, hell yeah!
Yeah,
they put up 38 week 1, and they put up another 35 or 30 something week 2. I do have his top receiver in St. Brown, who has been going, ridiculously off. It's Hawkinson that they have over there too, and the thing that's impressing me is that offensive line. We saw what Swift and Jamal Williams are doing behind that line. They're playing well. Jared Goff is looking like, Jared Goff has never looked like that guy, even when they went to the Super Bowl. But he's probably throwing the ball as confidently as he can. They're the Hard Knocks team, and usually those teams don't do well. But hey, shout out to the Lions. I would stream Jared Goff if I had to. I have guys like Joe Burrow, prime example. 5 picks week 1. He put up 14 or 15 points last week, and then you have Jared
stream Goff over Burrow at this point.
Against a shitty team, yeah.
Ben, would you stream Goff over Aaron Rodgers?
I would. I was the guy telling a buddy to stream Winston over Rodgers last week. So yeah, and especially Rodgers against the Bucs. That defense that's been holding
only one
down.
touchdown through 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give me Goff all day. Our beloved Lions, bro. Our beloved Lions.
Those overs, baby.
They're going to be exciting to watch. They're going to be an overs machine as far as totals wise goes this season. They got the Vikings this week. I like the Lions. You expect them to, be in the game or coming from behind. So Goff is a good option. Like Ron mentioned, St. Brown, beast. I'll stream Goff over Aaron Rodgers. Yes.
Okay. And then I just want to go through some names, just read off some injuries, and if anything sticks out to you guys, you just let me know. Jerry Jeudy did not practice today because he had a shoulder injury, it looks like. James Conner managing an ankle injury from last week. Damian Harris looked like he got hurt at the end of the game against Pittsburgh. He says that it's not serious, but I think he had a limited practice today. And Ramondre Stevenson is a guy that's up next there. And then our Cowboys, beloved Cowboys, looks like we lost Dalton Schultz for a few weeks. And then I just
definitely hold on to CD now.
Yep. And then I have just a few little updates. Greg Kittle, limited practice. Gabe Davis, limited practice. Alan Lazard, limited practice. J.K. Dobbins, full practice. Any names there that intrigue you guys just because you're interested, or maybe just because you have them on your team?
I've been getting offers for J.K. Dobbins, and I hadn't read up much on the news. But once offers start coming for an injured player, it's because he practiced in full and he's probably on track to play. I was kind of surprised he didn't play last week because he was practicing also. That's when I started getting the trade offers. But I mean, they need a running back. It's been Lamar running the ball. Kenyon Drake hasn't been able to do it. Mike Davis hasn't been very good either. So Dobbins, it could be his backfield,
Oh yeah. And
Well,
he's talented.
And I think what you guys said about the Ravens losing that game is they were scoring too quick.
Yeah.
Because Lamar and in the passing game, if you had a running back like a J.K. Dobbins who could maybe slow the game down and you have confidence in, who can just kind of, third and short, get those extending the drive kind of plays, that might have helped them to keep the ball away from the Dolphins and potentially they win that game. So he could be a big piece in the overall offense when they get these big leads to slow the game down, maintain the lead, and don't let anybody come back on them like the Dolphins definitely did.
Yeah, and then just what is it? Just three names just to wrap things up. Alvin Kamara, he practiced. He's got that rib injury. Hunter Renfrow, not seen at practice, concussion, flex guy.
And then shit anyway.
Somebody dropped him in one of my leagues. I was very surprised.
And then the Chargers dealing with some injuries. Herbert looks like he's going to be good to go, limited practice. And then Keenan Allen doing individual work. You guys got any Chargers? Are you worried about this Herbert injury or
playing against Herbert in 2 leagues this week? So, I mean, he'll probably thug it out, but it looked really bad. Where he could barely even throw. I did want to talk about just 2 Cowboys guys. Real quick, for Dalton Schultz, who's the guy that you're maybe if somebody who has Dalton Schultz and now needs, they only carried 1 tight end because Dalton Schultz is that every week starter type of guy. One of the people that I was going to recommend was Irv Smith. I know he dropped that long touchdown from Cousins that would have probably changed the game, but he's looked pretty game while he's been in there. And I was able to pick him up in all 3 leagues that I had Dalton Schultz. So
nice. Definitely a good name. I've been dealing with the Kittle injury, so I've been looking at tight ends, and Mark Chapa, he just answered it for me.
That's another one.
Logan Thomas was a pickup for me. He helped me win a game this past week. He scored a touchdown. So Logan Thomas, another name I'd look at for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a fantasy mailbag question last week. Tight ends. It was the guy OJ Howard too, who went off for 2 touchdowns with 2 catches. But
OJ Howard had his game for the season. We can drop OJ Howard.
Yeah, and then Schultz was the other one, but now he's injured. And I forgot who the other 2 were, but
I think it was Higbee. Hey, but my last question was about Zeke. So Zeke has in full point PPR, I believe he has back-to-back 7-point weeks or 6 and 7 points. How are we for somebody who went 0 running back in most of my drafts? Zeke has been a guy that I've been trying to target, with like my flex receiver, with that extra wide receiver that I drafted. Somebody like Brandon Cooks for Zeke straight up was something that I offered. What's the trade market like with Zeke? Do you think that Zeke's name just still holds very high value? We did see him slip in drafts. I know that you, Roland, talk about ADP, rankings in trades. What as a Cowboys fan and knowing what their future holds, what's the temperature like with Zeke?
I mean, me personally, it's very cold. I would I don't know if I'd trade Brandon Cooks for I value Brandon Cooks more than I value Zeke at this point. We don't know what this offense is. Zeke's name, in my opinion, does not carry any weights. If you're dealing with somebody like that, they're probably a Cowboys fan, a homer, probably that is holding on to that value of his name from what he did in 2019 or 2018. But the fact of the matter is, Zeke, while he has maintained, overall running back status, the week-to-week production simply isn't there and hasn't been there. He hasn't had a lot of these games that pop off the screen for you. So if you're still holding him in that kind of a value, I think you're off your rocker. But if you can try and trade for him for somebody like that and get trade your flex to try and get a running back too to help you out, I think that's a live play.
I think the issue with Zeke too is just that he's not getting any touchdowns. A lot of that production fantasy wise in 18 and 19 was just tutties, bro. He was in the end zone a lot. He's had exactly 5.9 fantasy points week 1 and week 2, which was 52 rushing yards week 1, 53 rushing yards in week 2, -3 yards receiving and -4 yards receiving. It's not looking good for him. But for some reason, you feel that, like in Ben's situation, if you can get him on your squad, you still feel like it's a little bit of a win.
But listen, I went 0 running backs. So my running backs are Michael Carter and AJ Dillon. So I feel like if I can get Brandon Cooks off my bench and bring over Zeke, and it's at least another guy I can plug in at running back.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
As a safe floor, maybe. And Ron, I'm glad you brought up the receiving this past year, because he killed it as a receiver last year. He was getting a lot of touches, a lot of swing passes to him, and that helps supplement a lot of his games. If you're playing PPR, he might not have had the yardage rushing, but he maybe walked away with 5 or 6 catches for 30 or 40 yards, and you couple that with the 50 rushing yards and maybe a touchdown, and he has a good week. Yeah. But he's not getting those. He's only caught 1-2 passes this year.
I just feel like maybe he doesn't want to be there or something. He's always that player. They always go to that angle of him, and he's sitting on the bench, like with his hands on the bench, like that in his head, like with that his open mouth, like open.
I signed a $95 million contract. Look.
I mean, it just. I know him.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, that's
exactly. Yeah, like he's just thinking about the money. He's just thinking about the money, and he doesn't care about his performance or the game. He's just like, me and my bestie Dak got paid, and we Gucci now.
Yeah. And it pains me because I'm a Zeke guy. I loved Zeke. I was happy when we drafted him. I have his jersey. I like the way he played when he came into the league. I mean, one of the best running backs that we've seen come into the league in a little while. And it just pains to see me that he's kind of been stuck in like this purgatory for the past 2 or 3 years, injury related, and maybe just he doesn't have the juice that he used to have.
Maybe he just needs another squad, bro.
Yeah, and I think also too, I mean, the Cowboys kind of ran him into the ground the first couple of years that he was there. He had over 300 touches pretty much every year since he's come into the league. So not a lot of guys are going to last when you're doing that. But any other questions fantasy wise? Ben, those are 2 good questions on the Cowboys. Anything else you guys want to get off your chest before we recap our I guess our super contest? We're still kind of
Lou's in the comments talking about he's beating me this week. He started off in the pod league, the fantasy league, 2-0. So he's feeling himself. I'm 1-1, but we're gonna take care of business this week. Chill, Lou.
We'll do a little maybe Ben and Justin. Are you Ron in the league too?
Yeah.
Hey, he don't want to talk about it. He don't want to talk about it.
You guys maybe post the standings. I know me and Ron play each other in our keeper league this week, so looking forward to that.
Ron don't want to talk about
bro, I swear to God, man.
Ron might not want to talk about that, but he will want to talk about this next segment.
Hey, you boys had a good week. Let's get to it.
Because if you guys listened to us on Sunday, we gave out some good picks. I went 2 out of 3, and so did Ron. So we're overall 4-2 on the week. I hit on the Patriots and the Lions PK, and I missed big on that Broncos -10. Didn't even get the backdoor love, but I'll take a positive day, better than it was last week. And then Ron, he took us home here. He hit. You want to take us through your plays, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, Detroit, Washington, we saw what happened there. The game was like in the 60s. That cashed easy. Bucks -2.5 pulled away at the end. They won 20-10. And the Ravens was fucking looking so good, man. I'm like, I can't wait to get on the pod next week, 3-0 and defeated. I was gonna go bring a broom, here, like, I was just gonna carry it on my shoulder the whole podcast, and then the collapse. And the thing about this, bro, is that I mean, I made money, Detroit, and the Bucks. But then, like, you're always heavier on some plays than the other. And I was heavy on the Ravens play, and I was heavy on the Bengals play. And that's what screwed me over. You go heavy on those plays, the ones that you think are going to win for sure. And you don't go as heavy on, like, my Washington over and my Bucks over. So that's why I said that I didn't have a great week. Yes, on the show, I had a great week, but fuck, man, financially wise, it's a little different story. But hey,
just got stick to the plays that you put out
here. Can't complain. Yeah. So we're good. We're good.
4-2 as a pod. Can't complain. Hopefully, some of you guys that were watching on Sunday took some of those plays. And I took the Bucks -2.5 live with Ron. I saw the play. We talked about it a little bit. I think Jerry gave us that information. That Jameis Winston was playing with pretty much a broken back.
Spinal.
Which didn't seem to, because it was a crazy game all the way to the end, but ended up cashing that too. That Bucks -2.5.
And speaking of that news, that's where we told Marky Garza to start Taysom Hill for sure. Like for sure, get him in there, cause like whatever you got to do to get him in. Like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And he put him in there and he shit the bed, man. Sorry, Marky, but hey. I mean, the report was like, this guy has a herniated disc. He can't even walk and all this shit. And then, like, there goes Jameis Winston out there, like, starting the game. But
hey, man, I was working last Sunday, but this Sunday I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to get my plays on. I'm going to get on board with you boys.
Hell yeah. Get those plays. We need your must start, because you hit that must start with the Gabe Davis week 1. That was a good one. So we definitely need that. And then hopefully, the guy who won it all last year, we did our super contest all 17 weeks of the NFL season, and the guy who walked away as the champion was Justin.
One and done.
And he hasn't given us his picks yet.
Boy thinks he's a blue chip freshman, Roland.
He's had some things to deal with, some off the field stuff to deal with, but hopefully Justin gets back to us here week 3, and hey, he spotted us 6 games. So
blue chip freshman, I like that.
On the blue chips. But as Ben said, we're going to be back next Sunday. This is our recap show. We're going to try and do this either like Monday or Wednesday, but for sure we do want to do a little recap and preview onto the next week. And so that's what we're going to be giving you guys during the week as far as NFL is concerned. Always talk NFL just overall and fantasy. But before we close things out, is there a game that you guys are already looking forward to?
Let's talk a little bit about tomorrow night's game. Since
we're that's right.
My bad. Yeah, I messed that up.
Lined up on the slide.
That was me.
Before we do sign off, this is a little bit of a look ahead podcast too. We have the Thursday night matchup, probably the matchup of the year. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it's Browns. It's Browns versus Steelers. The line is minus
30s and shit.
Yeah, -4.5 over under 38.5. The line is actually fluctuated a little bit. I think I saw it as high as -5. So people definitely liking the Browns. Are you guys gonna lay points with the Cleveland Browns and Jacoby Brissett, or are we on the dog here? Do we got a live dog in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, when the lines came out, I grabbed 3.5. It opened at 3.5, and I was like, I'm gonna get the hook in a division game with Tomlin as a dog against Jacoby Brissett. All right, and then the line goes up to 4.5, and I'm thinking like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. And then today, before we went on, Ron was sharing. It seems like the media has taken the Steelers locker room by storm, because they got Snoop calling out the OC, first of all. then Trubisky's calling out the OC as well. The fans are calling for Pickett like they've been since they drafted him. So I think it's too many points, bro, against a Browns team that just came out, lost to the Jets. Yes, Nick Chubb looked really good, but this is a field goal game. It always is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not messing with the line here, but I am on the Browns, and the money line isn't too high. So there you go, parlay Ron. I will start off a parlay with them, because I do think that they do win the game, because I don't have trust in Trubisky. He's just in Mitch we trust just doesn't work for me. Maserati Mitch, the way that Ben likes to call him, it just doesn't work for me, man. And Cleveland's rushing attack is gonna do great. We saw Cooper kind of come alive week 2. I mean, Brissett's Brissett. He's a backup quarterback. Yeah, I mean, he's a backup quarterback, but he can manage the game. And against a team like the Steelers, you can manage a game against the Steelers. As we know, Watt is out. Give me the Cleveland Browns on the money line here. I'm not going to touch the over and the under, because I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. We could see 2 mediocre squads go off, or we could see 2 mediocre squads give you a 6-9 game. So I'm just going to roll with the Browns money line tomorrow night. Sorry, Diego.
Roland, first to 10 or 14 wins, Roland?
Yeah, first to 10 will probably win this game, but that's why I think the Steelers, I'm probably not going to play on this game. If anything, it's going to be the Steelers teased, because you tease the Steelers 7 points, or you tease them 10, so you're either getting 11.5 or you're getting 14.5. Look at the total. It's 38.5. There's not going to be a lot of points scored. So you should be safe teasing the Steelers up because there's not going to be a lot of points scored in this game. If you use the teaser to your advantage here, I think you got a pretty safe play at Steelers plus 14.5. If you do a 3-team 10-point teaser, you can take that one right to the bank, I'd say. Although I will say Jacoby Brissett is better than Mitch Trubisky. I don't. I'm pretty sure of that. I'm pretty sure of that.
Okay, that was my next thing. You guys are pretty confused by the line. You're pretty baffled. Why do you think that the Steelers aren't closer to a pick 'em or at least under that 3 range? Why is Vegas making it such a big gap here in points?
I think Ben talked about some of it. It's calling for Kenny Pickett. It's a locker room mate possibly in turmoil. Then you factor in short week road team. So it's a Thursday night game. They're going on the road. That's never a good mix. And then
these guys just lost to the Jets, Roland.
But a game that they had them dead to rights. They let them back in the game. I know they ended up losing, but it's kind of you look at it the same way as the Baltimore and Dolphins game. Miami, excuse me. Baltimore, they won that game. They let Miami back in. Similar thing here with the Browns and Jets, in my opinion. But I'm still not laying 4.5 on the Jets. I'm never gonna do that. On the Browns, excuse me. I'd rather just tease up the Steelers plus 11.5, plus 14.5, and don't screw up my money. That's kind of where I lay on this one.
Maybe they're just counting on Mitch to shit the bed.
Maybe that's what they want. Right?
That could be another thing too. Mitch just shits the bed. Cleveland gets some turnovers or some short down. Some short field, and then the running game just kind of takes over.
Hey, let me ask you all a couple of fantasy questions before we end this. Based off of this game, Najee Harris, are we just completely out on him for the rest of the season, or are you guys still believers in Najee? Or are we just out on the whole Pittsburgh offense?
I was out on him before the season, and I'm out on him now. The way I looked at it is he had like an insane amount of usage last year to get the numbers that he got, and the usage was expected to go a little bit down this year. So I just wasn't in on him because I just don't think he got his numbers very efficiently, and it's not working out this year.
No big plays or anything like that. It was just a lot of 4-yard, 3-yard runs, and they add up because he was getting 27, 28 carries, like Roland said. So likewise, where he was getting drafted, on the turnaround in the second round, you could just have so many other guys. I don't like it at all. Ron, Najee Harris fan or no?
I was big on Najee. After the injury, it is going to be a little tough. So I'm kind of out on him, man. He's somebody else who you could possibly. It's not like Zeke, right? It's way different, but he's somebody who could be a possible trade. Say you need some more RBs or say somebody needs some more receivers. He could be, trade bait, somebody that I would look into. But I am kind of off on him just because of the quarterback situation too. If you're Mitch Trubisky, you're going to want to be moving the ball down the field, getting those big plays, showing the coach and showing the team that you can do it. And then you have, your receivers are great. You have a solid tight end. The last thing in Mitch Trubisky's mind is probably, let me hand off the ball to my running back. No, I want to make the big play to my wide receivers. They really don't have anybody else there, which, like Roland said, as far as running backs, puts a lot of weight on him. So he's somebody who you could see with an early injury not maybe making it all the way through to the end of the year. So if you can get rid of him now for some other solid players, why not? Because he's already injury prone so far. We saw with the injury, and he might not make it all the way through the year. So I am definitely off of Najee, even though I really was high on him, man. I was high on the Steelers at my future show. I said, take the win total. They're going to be great. And so far, that hasn't looked good either.
It hasn't looked good, but it was a muff punt, that pretty much won the Patriots that game, to be fair. So is it safe to say Pat Freiermuth is pretty much the only playable guy on that Steelers offense? Well, or are you still playing Deontay Johnson and any other receivers? I know George Pickens was a guy with a lot of hype. You think what's the temperature like?
I think you're still playing Deontay. You're still playing. Sure. You're still playing Youth. Obviously, still playing Najee unless you trade him. But I think all those guys. You're not playing any of the ancillary guys, like the secondary guys. Excuse me, like Claypool. Pickens, like Claypool. Nah, those guys can miss me with that.
If Najee puts up a dud week 3 versus the Browns, I think you got to look to trade him, man, because it's 3 weeks deep. He hasn't done much, and he has an injury. I mean, I would just get rid of him, cut your losses, and move on to a receiver like who we mentioned earlier, the Jags receiver, who ETN is there, but he's taking, touches away from him. I mean, if you can do something like that, that could potentially be a trade, or those two running backs in some kind of package deal.
Do you think somebody would Ben, if you had Robinson, would you trade Robinson to get Najee Harris?
I think it's too early to do that, but honestly, bro, Robinson is going to outscore Harris this season. It's going to happen, bro. Like I know with the ADP and all that shit, and we expected it to be Etienne's backfield, but Robinson and that offense, the way they're moving early on in the season.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
And he's the goal line guy, most importantly. Robinson's going to outscore him. I'm out on
That's
Najee.
bold. That's because I'm just, again, you go look at the ADP, look at Najee. He's the clear-cut number one guy. That's bold, but I can see it, and that's why I asked the question, because
he's already up like 30 fucking points on him.
He's already up.
The Jags offense is surprising me too. They're moving the ball easily. I mean, in his second year, Trevor Lawrence looks like he's doing really well. Christian Kirk coming over from Arizona is killing it.
Waller.
I mean, yeah. So you always want to take the better player and the better offense, and it's Robinson over Najee so far.
All right. Well,
What about other fantasy questions?
on the Browns side, Amari Cooper? Is he a guy that you're starting at maybe a flex at receiver? Or are you guys just really not in the Amari Cooper business?
What do you think, Ron?
I would like to have him on my team, but I don't know if he's there yet to put him even as a flex, in my opinion. So if going into this week, if he's on my team, I still probably bench him for now.
I think he's definitely a flex candidate. I don't have any Amari Cooper just because I was off on the Browns this year, especially since the Watson news broke that he was going to be out for most of the season. But he definitely looks like he's coming around. It looks like him and Jacoby Brissett have a good rapport. Brissett's looking for him. So if I didn't have nobody else there. He's not like I wouldn't say you're not even looking at Cooper to play. I definitely think you have to consider him as a flex consideration, but
he's like, would you go Jarvis Landry or Amari Cooper?
I'd go Cooper over Jarvis Landry.
Okay.
Ben, would you go Cooper or Landry?
Well, what about Zeke or Cooper? Who would you flex?
That's a good question. I'd flex Cooper.
Yeah, I would flex. That's crazy
flex
to
Cooper
say,
over Zeke.
right?
That's crazy to fucking say.
Zeke can't even get a
Cooper
flex over
Brissett.
Cooper. Yeah.
I mean, I asked that because the running backs are obvious starts, both Hunt and Chubb. Obviously, a tough matchup against the Steelers, but the only real question that you have is Cooper because you're not starting anybody else from the Browns side. I mean, if you had to pick a defense, it seems like both of you are favoring the Browns to probably win this game. So maybe the Browns defense could be a stream this week against, a struggling Pittsburgh offense.
Yeah, or if you have somebody hurt, like Keenan Allen is hurt, Josh Palmer has been getting some looks. I mean, I know that's pretty deep, but, Palmer or Cooper –
yeah, I mean,
no Mike. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things, but to just bring up Amari Cooper into him being relevant again as a Cowboy fan kind of sucks. But
yeah, it hurts for sure, especially because we gave him we pretty much gave him away for a box of Cracker Jacks or whatever you want to call it. But Amari Cooper, 9 catches, 10 targets, 101 yards, and a touchdown in his second game as a Brown. I don't think he's going to be there all the time, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be like week 1 either all the time because they controlled that game with Kareem Hunt and Chubb, so you got to look at that. But Cooper's flexible for sure, man. I don't think he's you're stashing him on your bench or anything.
Marky says he's benching him this week.
Well, hopefully, I'm pretty sure Marky has some better options. Yeah, for sure. I'm sure he has.
I'm not pretty sure about that, Roland. I don't know how you can say that with confidence. Speaking about Mark Garza.
Hey, I'm giving him some bail here, but any other fantasy stuff, Ben? Before because we're gonna kill it on.
That's all I got, bro. I know I extended it a little bit, but we're not gonna talk about that game tomorrow, so I kind of wanted to get the players in there that way if anybody had any questions.
Oh, yeah. And Ron, since we're on today, do you want to let them know about the contest that we're going to be rolling out this week? It's a 1-week contest. You want to give a little bit of the detail?
Yeah, man, for sure. We're going to do it's just a pick 'em. Everybody does it with your friends at work, with your homeboys in the fantasy league. It's just a straight pick 'em sheet. and it's free. I mean, you don't got to pay anything. It's no $5, $10. I mean, absolutely nothing. Just for whoever watches the video, for whoever shares the video, for whoever just kind of comments and hangs out. If you want to enter it, we'll have the entry up, and we're gonna give away something. It'll be a gift card somewhere. I don't know, Best Buy, Academy. We'll give you guys something just for hanging out, doing the contest, joining us, and that's pretty much it, man. Absolutely free. Absolutely free. There's no catch. There's nothing. Just join the contest, and if you win, you win. Boom, we give you the gift card, and you do whatever the hell you want with it, baby.
Yeah, we'll have the pick 'em, so be on the lookout for that. We'll be posting it on our social medias. It looks like Ben wants to say something, but he's on mute.
That if one of us wins, is it just better luck next week? We roll it out again the following week.
Yeah. If one of us wins,
we're going to compete also, right? Obviously,
we'll roll it out, or maybe we'll compete as a podcast. We'll just have one entry for We Talking About Sports, and do that.
And we can just roll it over.
Maybe Justin will unretire for this, bro.
We're going to need his help. We're going to need his help putting this together.
Yeah.
But without further ado, guys, it's been fun. It was a Wednesday
is it right
night.
Here, man.
There we
right
go.
There, Sundays.
Join us on Sundays. Every Sunday, you know where to find us. It's going to be at around 10 a.m.-ish, if you will. Not always right on the dot at 10 a.m., but we are there right around that time, and we're going to be there with you guys right up until about kickoff. And we're going to break down everything that you need to know, from the weather to the injuries, fantasy, and give you our picks. And Ben said he's about to go 3-0 this week, so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, Sundays at 10 a.m. Every time during the week, it's kind of like on and off. We don't, here and there. Some of us are on, some of us are not. But guaranteed show, Sundays at 10 a.m. is where you need to be. That's where we're going to do everything on there. Sundays at 10 a.m., boys.
Sundays at 10 a.m. So we talking about sports. This was a recap, and we'll talk to you guys on Sunday.
Peace.